it going, cosplayers of the world? EJ and Cosplay here. There are a bajillion items out there that cosplayers have in their handy box of tools, equipment and whatnot that help them get the job done and put their costumes together. And I talk about a lot of them in our series 10 Simple Cosplays, which you can find a link to down below. And if you watch that, I'll explain how to make simple cosplays. But today I'm taking a different stance. Instead, I thought it would be cool if we looked at essential items, equipment and tools that cosplayers need or should have lying around the house to help them with their crafting needs. So sit back, relax, maybe get a notebook out and start making some shopping lists as I talk you through 15 essential items, tools and equipment all cosplayers should have in their workspace. Alright, let's start this off super duper simple with needles and thread. You will go through a load of hand sewing needles and thread during your time of making costumes. If you are doing any hand sewing projects or adding wefts to a wig, you're probably going to need some sewing needles and some thread to sew them together. And every different thing you need will require different coloured thread to make it work. So make sure you have plenty of sewing needles, whether they be self-threading or just generic sewing needles. Whatever you need to get the job done, be sure to make sure you have it, because every different costume I make needs a different thread. And remember, it's usually better to go a shade darker than the material you're working with, as that tends to not show up when you use it for hemming and whatnot. So buy yourself a buttload of thread and a buttload of sewing needles and you'll be fine. In our 14th spot, we have the magical wonder that is cling film. You use this a lot if you're making patterns for things like armor. Then what you usually do is you cover yourself in cling film and then coat it over with duct tape and draw your patterns onto that, and then you can transfer that to another material and continue on until you've got what you want. So having at least one roll of cling film, which is probably already in your house, but having one in your workspace is usually a good thing to do. So be sure to make sure you have one of these lying around, especially if you're planning on doing armor work, because it'll help you out a lot, trust us. Continuing on, we move on to number 13, and we're on to sandpaper. Whether you be using a sanding block like this one, or just normal sandpaper like this, sanding is essential to prop making an armor, whether you want to make your seams smooth, or you just want to make something actually neatly fit together. Sometimes I even use sanding to make blocks that are way too big and not fitting together fit together. So if that's the case, have sandpaper at the ready. You can buy it very cheap in like literally any supermarket or that, and there are different coarsenesses and those actually affect how smooth and what effect the sandpaper will have, so be sure to get a variety pack so you've got all different coarsenesses. And sanding blocks are just super helpful for some prop things I do. But I wouldn't be anywhere without this bad boy. A Dremel is my godsend, and if you can't afford Dremel, which is just a main brand, you can get a rotary tool, which actually works as loads of different items too. Whether it be a drill or sanding or various things like that. Mine has about 80 different heads, so it can do 80 different tasks. So be sure to get one, because they are babes, and I wouldn't be anywhere on my Exonius without this bad boy. So sandpaper, you like to sand, so make sure you have lots of options. At number 12, let's move on to a big beast. If you do a lot of sewing projects, and trust me, every costume I've ever done has had some part sewing project, and you don't want to hand sew because it might take forever, like I used to for the first 3 years. It took forever. You're going to need one of these bad boys, a sewing machine. Make sure you get one you're comfortable with using and you understand how it all goes together. Make sure it's got the right settings on it. You want to be able to have at least a straight stitch, a zigzag stitch, and ideally a locking stitch to secure them. If not, you could just turn this down to 0 and have basically that do your lock and stitch, but you're going to want it to have at least those 3 options and one that you're comfortable with. So it might be a bit of an expensive piece of equipment to buy, but it is essential. So make sure you invest in one of those as soon as you possibly can if you're going to be doing a lot of fabric work, because it will save you lots of time, and don't be scared of it. I used to be scared of mine. You don't have to be scared. It's going to be your best friend. Just remember to get replacement parts like needles, because you're going to break some. At number 11, we're going to have my little friend over here, or my giant friend as we shall say. A mannequin, a dress mannequin or a male mannequin, whatever it might be, a mannequin is going to be your friend. It's going to hold your costume whilst you are building it. That'll be really helpful, so be sure to get one in your size. You can get mannequins that change size and you can adjust them to various sizes, which are super cool but super expensive. Or for about 40 quid you can get one like this, which is just done in sizes and holds my stuff. I have like 3 of them, and if you're a guy you can get them for around the same price too. So be sure to have a mannequin that you can build some costumes on, even if you can only build one at a time. Make sure y'all got a mannequin to work with. your good old friend. Brushes, paint brushes, hair brushes, and of course, brushes for your makeup. We have a variety of them, but at the bare minimum, one tangle teaser for wigs, and some paint brushes for your crafting. Continuing on, we're on to number 9, and our bad boy glue is into the mix, whether it be on a glue gun, contact adhesive, glue sticks for glue guns, super glue, it doesn't matter, it could be PVC. Make sure you have at least one glue gun. This is my trusty one. It's a lovely Stanley one, and it is a hot melt glue with 2 temperatures, which is lovely. Or you can use a cool melt one, or contact adhesive, or super glue. But I tend to use a variety of these in each costume. I hot glue stuff, I contact adhesive for the most part, and when it inevitably breaks at conventions, I super glue, so have a variety. They don't all have to be big, but have a variety of different glues accessible to you. Contact adhesive, it's a must. Get to know it, become its friend, because you're probably going to use it. And like I said, glue gun. I like to call mine under the naming scheme. Old Bernie, new Bernie, big Bernie. You know, they all burn me eventually, so that's how I name them. But make sure you got glue. It's going to be your best friend, and you're going to need lots of it. Otherwise, how you going to get those costumes together? Alrighty, our number 8 spot is kind of more for if you're going to be doing armor, but it's nothing wrong with having various bits of foam around your house. Whether it be funky foam, which you can buy for like 50p from supermarkets or Hobbycraft, or foam that's actually meant for crafting, such as foam you can get from places like Polyprops where it's different millimeters. EVA foam. Have some foam lying around. EVA foam is fantastic for props and armor, and funky foam is awesome for going into the middle of Warbler or for creating details on pieces like your props or your armor or whatnot. But have a little bit of foam around because you never know when you're going to need it, and especially if you're crafting armor and you're going for EVA foam. You can do floor mats if you want, I know a lot of people do. I just prefer mine to be flat both sides because it's easier to get contact adhesive to stick. So make sure you got some funky foam and some crafting foam and you'll be good. EVA foam, funky foam, make sure you got it and you'll be having a fun day! We're on to number 7, and number 7 for me is tape. Various types of tape. Duct tape and painter's tape being my preferable too. Duct tape for helping me make those handy little patterns that I mentioned earlier that you make with cling foam, and painter's tape for helping me get neat lines on my painting, and also sometimes I cover over my armor and then I use that to draw together what detail pieces I want and get it off. It's a little bit easier than tracing paper because sometimes my armor is fiddly shapes. So I have some tape, sellotape, duct tape and painter's tape. These two are absolutely must for me. I use them on a frequent basis. If it doesn't work, duct tape everything! I joke, I joke. Duct taping is super good for patterning though, and maybe holding up my mannequin downstairs. And painter's tape, neat lines, and also for doing things like covering over stuff and drawing patterns onto it. So you got 2 different tapes that are good to have lying around. At number 6, we have my favourite of tools, a Stanley knife or a cutter's knife. These knives, if you're under, like, you know, an age where you're sensible with sharp objects, are precision blades, essentially like a scalpel that I use for cutting out my foam and doing detail pieces like that. So yeah, I use one of these blades to cut my foam, and I don't know how to work without one of these. Make sure you've got plenty of replacement tips. I personally prefer using an actual Stanley knife. So I've got a flat max, which means it's got a limited reach, meaning it can sometimes struggle if my foam's thicker than 10mm, meaning I have to do 2 cuts. But I find it less flimsy than the snap and release ones, which are supposed to only be kept out to a certain degree. So get yourself a good cutting knife. It can be a Stanley knife or it could be another one, but make sure you have a good hand blade, essentially, that you can precisely cut things out with. And if you're of a young age and you don't trust yourself with very sharp objects, be sure to ask your parents if you can get one of these, and of course don't use it without being supervised. But be careful because these are sharp. Make sure you've got plenty of replacement blades and love them. I don't know what I'd do without this Stanley knife, it's so beautiful. I love it to bits. But don't worry, if you can't get the pocket-sized one that is this one, you can get various different types of them. But yeah, you can get click and retract ones, which are much longer blades, or you can go for smaller ones like these. I get on much better with the Stanley knife because, like I said, these things can be flimsy. Whether you're using a small blade like this Stanley knife or a big one like this bad boy, take your pick on what works best for you and use it carefully. I know I've cut myself a few times, but they are essential for cutting out foam. Okay, we're almost at the end line here, guys. We're almost at the finish line. If your shopping list has been every single item I've lifted so far, I'm so sorry because that's probably totaling up quite quickly. I promise you a lot of these items are quite cheap and I buy them in drips and drabs as I need them. Don't be afraid to buy what you need as you need it. It's okay. But on our number 5 spot, if you're doing lots of wig stuff, which I do with every costume, then you're gonna need one of these bad boys. A wig head. Something you can put your wigs on top of to style them. You gonna need one of these. I have many of these. Yes, I do. Look at her nod. But this is the kind of thing you'll need. A wig head to put wigs on, and if you've got elaborate headpieces, to put those on so they stay safe. Isn't that right? Giant foam headpiece that they can't see out of shot, but it's giant because it's extraneous. Wig heads. You can find them cheap online. You can also find ones that don't look like this and aren't polystyrene. You can find little ones that pop up, but polystyrene ones are a little bit better. You can punch holes into them so you can keep your wig from moving off it, and these are actually more for styling as opposed to the ones which are for display, which are the pop-up ones. So yeah, get yourself a good wig head. Yes, yes, yes. Okay guys, we're on to number 4 and let's play Name the Object. What is this funky little thing? Well, if you've ever done wig styling and wondered, God damn, my wig head keeps falling over, which is exactly why my previous wig head had duct tape on it, aw yeah, you might need one of these bad boys. If wig styling is your jam and you're doing very long wigs or you gotta do a lot of pulling on it, this is a wig head clamp. It literally clamps to a desk and you pop your wig on top here and presto, your wig won't move while you style. It is as simple as clamp, padooshk, now my wig head can't fall off. I can pull it as much as I want and it's not coming off. These things are amazing and you can find them online for like £3 and just do it. Trust me, I wasted so much time not having one of these. I've literally only just bought one of these to stream crafting a wig. So get one, it will solve you many problems and your thing won't end up with duct tape all over it. Okay, this might sound silly, but taking our number 3 spot is something that you will always need more of, I promise you. Have you figured out what it is yet? It's pins! Yay! I like berry pins, which are pins with a little berry on the top, because then I can get them back out and not lose them, but dressmaking pins work too. Just make sure you got lots of them. Trust me, I need hundreds of them for each thing, so make sure you got a lot of them. You're gonna need them. Pins, pins, pins. Bulk buy them online, just do it, make sure you've got them. You will use this in nearly everything you do, whether it be putting patterns together, pinning wigs onto wig heads so they don't fall off, pinning, I don't know, foam patterns together, like you pattern from foam. Whatever it is, you're gonna need these. You will use them a lot. Berry pins are cool because you can see the top of them so you can always find them, but buy a lot of pins. Trust me, you will always need more pins. Okay, we're in the home stretch. There's only 2 more essential items I'm going to tell you about in this video. It's gonna be okay. And my number 2 one is scissors! Yay! You're gonna need a few very specific pairs of scissors to work with. If you're working with fabric, invest in a nice pair of fabric scissors, like these guys. Don't use them to cut anything by fabric, otherwise they will basically get little ridges of damage in them and they won't cut straight and it'll be really annoying. These are for fabric only. Don't let anyone else touch them. Why do you think mine stay in a box? These are fabric, they are precious, they were also expensive. But also just have a generic pair of scissors to cut. You'll need them for things like warbler and all that kind of stuff. So things like warbler, paper cutting, just have a generic pair that you can use around the house. And if you're doing wig styling, you're gonna need 2 pairs of scissors. One which is just a generic styling pair of scissors, and it doesn't really matter how great those are. If you can afford more expensive, good on you, I can't. And some thinning scissors, which are scissors that have a very particular comb edge ridge, which means they thin out hair. There's a specific method to use them, but make sure you got different scissors. There's the 4 that I would recommend you having in your house to start you off with. Alright guys, it's almost over, but stick 'em up! It's a heat gun! It's my most beloved of cosplay items. I do not know what I would do without a heat gun. I actually don't know how to function without a heat gun in my house now. I had 2 break on me in the space of a very short deadline of crafting, and it was like the worst experience ever. You can buy a heat gun for pretty cheap from most hardware stores, like I think this one in particular is like £25, so it's not too bad. But they're heat guns, they blow hot air, you use them to shape warbler, you use them to shape foam. You can use them for their actual task too, which is to, you know, like essentially strip paint and whatnot. You can use them for that too. But we use them for shaping foam and warbler, and that is a huge, huge part of my armour making. and my warbler, and that's how a lot of my armor tops stay on me. So please, if you are doing cosplay and you're going to do armor and foam stuff, don't think that you can get away with a hairdryer, because it's probably not going to work. Just go buy a heat gun. They last for ages and they are quintessential to my life. I don't know what to do with that one, seriously. I don't know how to tell you how much I love it. Don't worry, heat gun, I love you so much. We're best friends till the day you die. Yes, we are. Who's your good heat gun mate? So many costumes. Anyway, heat gun. Grab one. You'll need it. Get a heat gun. They're so good. And there you have it, guys. That was 15 essential items for every cosplayer to have in their magical box of cosplay crafting tools. Now, I have a lot more things, and I know I didn't cover things like airbrush guns or, you know, fancier things, because a lot of the time you can get away without them. I don't actually use my airbrush gun all that much. I have one, but I only got one last year. So don't think because you don't have the tools that you can't get away with it. These ones that I picked for today were essentially the ones that you really could do with having, and some of them, like the Wig Head clamp, which make things easier, but they are essential tools to life as a cosplayer. Heat gun in particular, the different scissors, you will get better results knowing which scissors you need for what task. They are just the ones that you should get, and I'm sorry if it's expensive and if your shopping list is giant, I'm so sorry. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below and I'll try to answer them, like if you have any questions about which brands I use or whatnot. I will make a part 2 to this one of more cosplay items I think should be in people's workshops, but there's so many more than 15. My workshop is huge and cluttered and messy because there's so many things I need every day to craft, so many. And I didn't even start getting onto things about like how to add fancy details into costumes, like soldering irons, or how to do LEDs, which is a different type of soldering iron. There's so much more to get into. So if you want a part 2 for it, hit that like button and I will cover even more essential cosplay items that you can have in your workspace. Just hit that like button and let me know that you want more content like this. And I hope you guys found this one helpful. It's really cool to talk about the objects that everyone needs because everyone ranks them in different priorities of what they use. But I enjoyed it. I hope it's been helpful for some of you. And until the next video, keep crafting, keep creating art, keep sharing it with me. I love you guys. I'm going to go finish a giant antler headset because that's my job. Until next time, guys, I will see you around. Have an awesome time crafting. I love you. Bye! Hey, it's me again, just popping in to say thank you to all of the patrons who help make this content possible. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to afford to craft costumes or make content like this. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I love you guys and I hope the content is cool. If you want to become part of the special patron gang, because you can only find my patron if you have a specific link, because apparently I made Tim Plus only, who knew talking about cosplay objects was so sexual. If you want to sign up and get extras like extra tutorials, access to these early opinions on things, and you know, all this cool extra stuff, and then go to the link in this video. The bottom of this video, it's in the link. Go to that place. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you again, patrons. I love you. Bye!